sthitasya tāvad bhāvasya nirodho nopapadyate nāsthitasyāpi bhāvasya nirodha upapadyate.
Sthitasya tāvad bhāvasya nirodho nopapadyate nāsthitasyāpi bhāvasya nirodha upapadyate. MMK chapter 7 verse 27. Cessation is impossible in the first place for a being staying still. Cessation is impossible again for a being not staying still. So a couple of things that I wasn't 100% sure about in this verse. Tāvad, usually I just translate it as right now, because one of the meanings of tāvad is at this moment, right now. But it also means insofar as, so long, meanwhile, and for a start, as that also, for a start or in the first place. And I know Stan MacDonald translated it for a start, and her translations are usually spot on. So originally I had this: cessation is impossible right now. Cessation right now is impossible, but the right now didn't really seem to mean much. And then we've got tāvad also in there, coming up in verse 30. We have a similar two lines. When the first line says tāvad and the second line says cha or api. So in the first place and again seem to fit. So for this verse I translated tāvad as in the first place, and in past verses and future verses I shall think again about whether right now is always the best translation, or something like in the first place for a start. Then we've got bhāva again, which bhāva can mean the most non-empty thing there is, a thing, an existent thing. And it can also mean the most empty thing there is, a living being. So you have to choose every verse. And similarly, the genitive, sthitasya bhāvasya, it could mean for a living being who's staying still, or it could mean for an existing thing, which is sthita, which is settled, established. So again, you could have for an existent thing which is settled or fixed in place, or for a living being who's being still. So totally opposite meanings in the two cases. But rather than have square brackets and do two possible translations, I've just gone with the meaning which seemed to me to be what Nāgārjuna is really saying, which is that cessation, well, the main thing in any case, the main gist is nirodho nopapadyate. So na upapadyate, nopapadyate means is impossible, is not possible. And the thing that's not possible is nirodha, nominative singular masculine of nirodha. With sandhi, nirodha before no becomes nirodho. Nirodho nopapadyate. Cessation is impossible. Okay, so this is a big statement for a practitioner who aspires to realize the meaning of the third noble truth, the truth of cessation of suffering. Nāgārjuna is saying cessation is impossible. So in what sense is cessation impossible? Well, it has meaning to me on the basis of my mistakes over the years. One big mistake, which I see other people making, who are much younger than me and have the same kind of attitude. You go to an English public school or an English independent school, you learn to play rugby and tackle problems. And there's a certain mindset there. You know, there's a problem, I'm going to solve it. You know, there's a problem, I'm going to fix it. There's an enemy, I'm going to sort them out. I'm going to destroy them. And that's what the Buddha called prapancha. So if we understand the truth of cessation as there being something that we must cease, like ignorance or doings born of ignorance, that's prapancha. So again, thinking about the meaning of those Old Testament words, be still and know that I am God, or cease striving and know that I am God, in one translation. And then we're already going down the path of prapancha. So, I see, be still means you have to cease striving. And then, of course, you've turned striving into a thing to be ceased, and we're up against the obstacle that nirodho, nopapadyate. Cessation is impossible, and because it's genitive, it could be cessation is impossible of an existent thing which is settled, which is fixed in place, as all existent things are fixed in place. So, in that sense, sthitasya bhāvasya is a truism, because a bhava as an existent real thing, and a real thing as conceived in the mind of the Zen realist, where a stone lantern in the garden is a stone lantern in the garden, as it is. That existent thing is always fixed in place, because as an existent thing, it's not susceptible to change. So read like that, the first line says, cessation is impossible of cessation of an existent thing, which is fixed in place, sthitasya, is impossible. But that's more of an ontological assertion. For we who are living beings, who are not fixed in place, we're empty, but we have the possibility of being sthita bhava, a living being who stays still, who is staying still for us. So not of us, it's not cessation of a being is impossible, it's cessation is impossible for a living being who's staying still. So the point there is that staying still is the truth of cessation already. That's the whole gist of the chapter. Utpada is sthiti, is bhanga. So going up is staying still, is cessation. That really is the whole chapter, the essence of it. Going up is staying still, is the truth of cessation. So, understood like that, for a being who is staying still, for a being who's listened to those words, be still and know that I am God, then there's nothing to cease. Cessation is impossible because be still, what be still means, if it means ceasing anything, it means ceasing prapancha, prapanch upashamam, which can be translated as the cessation of prapancha, the cessation of spinning things into self-existence. But remember that shama actually literally means to become exhausted, to get tired out. So it has it. That's why it's called shivam, nirvana. So nirvana means going out, like a fire going out. It doesn't mean blowing out the candle. It means the wax has run out, or the oil of the oil lamp has run out, and so the flame just flickers out. It goes out. So prapancha upashamam doesn't mean prapancha is the enemy. Let's go and do in prapancha. It means kind of give up on a deeper and deeper level. See, this isn't something you understand once and then you're in the clear, because see, like this morning, I got up and started doing I'm going back to England on Monday, probably. Today's Wednesday, and so there's some things I'd like to finish off in the garden. I'd like to get the soil that I'm going to cultivate this year covered in straw rather than just leave it open to the air. So there's a certain kind of sense of wanting to get on with it and get it finished by the end of this week. And also, I want to finish these verses. So as I was putting the straw in the barrow, my neighbour, Madame Picard, whose straw it is actually, came over today and asked me could I get my sledgehammer and put a couple of posts deeper into the ground. Her fence is starting to wobble over a bit. And of course, I first thought it's a little bit of irritation. You know, bloody hell, I wanted to get on with shoveling my straw. And now I've got to go into the shed and, you know, search out my sledgehammer and so on. So, becoming aware of that, today's a lovely sunny day. I thought, no, I'm not going to rush as usual, have a shower and get straight into hastily getting another verse out of the way. There's 6 verses left after these 2, so 8 verses including these 2 for today. It's like when you're taking someone into a chair in Alexander work, it's always the last couple of inches where you're liable to lose direction and put them in the chair. That's end gaining. And that's not something you do when you're in teacher training, after which you never do it again. You're always liable to revert to type and stop paying attention to the process as you see the goals in sight and you want to touch the side if you're swimming, or you want to get to the end. So I was reflecting on that. So I did manage to inhibit my desire to get on with this first. I had a shower and went back outside again and sat in my zazen cabin which is south facing if you sit on the side of it. And so I'm just enjoying the sun on my face, which I love in the winter when it's cold, just sitting outside in the sunshine. And reflecting on what Marjorie Barlow taught me, the meaning of being still, coming to quiet. It's always letting go further back than you thought. Very hard to explain, but you know, Marjorie Barlow took pains to reveal that to me, really. That the stillness comes not from stopping something out there, but giving up on a deeper and deeper level the idea that I'm here to do something. Sthitasya, tāvad, bhāvasya, nirodho, nopapadyate. Cessation is impossible in the first place for a being staying still. So we shouldn't be in too much of a hurry to think we understand what it means for a being to stay still. You see, on a superficial level, I asked a couple of verses ago, does staying still have to do with the vestibular system? On a crude bodywork level, yes, it does. But that's not the level at which Marjorie Barlow was working at. She described Alexander work as a cut above bodywork, you see. And Zazen practitioners, like Issho Fujita, for example, has made the connection between Alexander work and Zazen practice. But my question to Issho Fujita is, do you understand that Alexander as a kind of advanced bodywork or an advanced kind of physiotherapy, as sometimes jokingly Alexander teachers refer to other Alexander teachers, Alexander work, disparagingly as advanced physiotherapy? Because that real Alexander work is the most mental thing there is. It's a cut above body work. And Issho Fujita I know because he comes from the same background as me, going back to Master Kodo Soaki. His Zazen is originally steeped in body work. So the choice is either you kind of go on refining that, you think of keeping still as having less and less movement and physically doing less and less. Or you make a kind of phase change, a totally different understanding of what Zazen is about, and you realise it's not about body work at all. It's not about doing less and less and less. or being quieter and stiller and stiller and stiller. It's actually, in some ways, it's like a somersault. You change your understanding completely and realise it's the most mental thing there is. So the physical stillness, if there is physical stillness, is just the outer manifestation of something changing in your mental processes. So prapanchopashama cannot be engineered from the outside. However brilliant an Alexander technique teacher's hands are, the teacher cannot give the student the understanding of prapanchopashama with the hands. Alexander said, I can't get inside your head and do the work for you. And what he meant by the work, the inhibition, cessation, is not the inhibition of something. It's giving up. It's prapancha being exhausted. So even if that isn't a totally conscious process, it's what a relief. But which reminds me of, this is just to change the tone totally. I saw on Twitter this morning a joke that made me laugh. Somebody said, my pet grey African parrot Polly unfortunately died this morning. She was probably as a result of overeating, because she was grossly overweight. Still, it's a weight off my shoulder. I thought that was good. But it somehow, trivial though it is, it's the same kind of thing. It's not that you get rid of something. It's being still. It's the backward step. That's why the backward step is such a good metaphor. The backward step is not running away from something. It's a backward step which allows I'm trying to explain what can't be explained. So pressing on. Cessation is impossible again. So this time it's na, nirodha, upapadyate. The same three words, but in a different order. So the na goes at the beginning of the line. Na, nirodha, upapadyate. Because nirodha before up, you lose the visarga. So nirodha, upapadyate. So exactly the same words. Nirodho, nopapadyate. Cessation is impossible. Or na, nirodha, upapadyate. Cessation is impossible. Cessation is not possible. Then so cessation is impossible again. That's api, for a being, bhāvasya, not staying still. Sthitasya. So na plus sthitasya plus api goes to nāsthitasyāpi. So na plus sthitasya plus api. Nāsthitasyāpi bhāvasya nirodha upapadyate. Cessation is impossible again for a being not staying still. So again, you could read it on two levels. As an ontological statement, which I don't think it is, cessation is impossible of an existent thing which is moving. So like a moving train, if it's moving, then cessation is impossible for it because it's moving. That's a superficial understanding. So I think it's better to understand it. Cessation is impossible again for a being, for a living being, not staying still. But the meaning is the same, is that if you're unsettled, if you're not still, then cessation is out of the question, because cessation, staying still, is cessation. Again, be still and know that I am God. those words, be still, are good words. That's what the truth of cessation is. It's being still. It's not ceasing something. Because if you think of it as ceasing something, that's prapancha. The point is so simple, but it's taken me 35 years. It took me, it's taken 35 years before that started to make sense to me. And I think that teaching has generally been lost. If it's been retained in Japan, it's retained on an intuitive level. But the exact teaching of Nāgārjuna about emptiness, to me, it's been lost in the way, as I was saying, it's so easy for all of us to lose it on an individual level in everyday life, because we get caught up in a daily round of activity, and we pay lip service to being still. We don't have the time. We don't regard being. We think being still can be sort of taken as read. We don't devote the time, even if, like, living by the forest here, supposedly devoted to a simple life of practicing zazen and digging out the deeper meaning of the teaching. I still get caught up in the daily round and think, I wake up in the morning, I'm going to do this, do that, and do the other, including doing this translation of Nāgārjuna. So when I'm criticising those academic philosophers, as usual, I'm pointing the finger at them, and three fingers are pointing back at me, because it's just again, it's Marjorie Barlow, after 70 years really devoted to the Alexander work. She said, we're all going around trying to be right, and I include myself. So this work of being still, going up, being still, cessation, it really requires us to go against the grain. Going against the grain of human evolution, really, because we've evolved to do. We've evolved to get an idea of gaining an end and go for it. Especially if you're a man, that's how men through the millennia have been successful in propagating their genes, by being rash and aggressive in the pursuit of goals, and being there. So men in particular, I think it's hard work to go against the grain of evolution. Sthitasya, tāvad, bhāvasya, nirodho, nopapadyate. Nāsthitasyāpi, bhāvasya, nirodha, upapadyate. Cessation is impossible in the first place for a being staying still. Cessation is impossible again for a being not staying still. So F.M. Alexander wrote 4 books, and he called the first one Man's Supreme Inheritance. And by man's supreme inheritance, he meant the use of reason. That's what makes us, that's what separates us, one of the things that separates us from other mammals. We can use reason to go against our evolutionary inheritance. And that really hit me when I was 2 or 3 years into my Alexander teacher training, after my first or second lesson with Marjorie Barlow. I can't remember if it was the first or second lesson. But with her totally clear understanding that Alexander work is not body work, it's a cut above body work. She had that understanding, and she had a fear that principle would get lost because there's so much body work going on Alexander teacher training courses. So she showed me with an absolutely unique clarity that what was required was for me to use my own noddle and reason out this business of not doing the directions. You know, it was the first time that Alexander work was presented to me as like something like a mathematical problem that I could solve. You know, it was really working out in a reasonable way, figuring out what was required. And what was required was, in the first instance, to give up the idea of being right, give up the idea of doing the directions, and totally give up the idea of doing a movement in order to be truly free to go ahead and do the movement. Because without that real true stillness, there isn't the possibility of freedom in movement. If you're just getting the idea that I'm going to do this, that and the other today, and then you get in the daily round and do it, even if you sort of, as you're carrying the buckets, you think, I want my head to go forward and up, and my shoulders to widen as you're carrying the bucket. That's still a very pale imitation of what Marjorie's work was about, which is in the first place really taking the backward step, being still. What you know when you're still. Be still and know. Sthitasya, tāvad, bhāvasya, nirodho, nopapadyate, nāsthitasyāpi, bhāvasya, nirodha, upapadyate. Cessation is impossible in the first place for a being staying still. Cessation is impossible again for a being not staying still.
sthitasya tāvad bhāvasya nirodho nopapadyate nāsthitasyāpi bhāvasya nirodha upapadyate.